This is UN Agenda 21 in action. This morning I walked into a meeting and the commissioners meeting, and it appears that Oregon Wild is petitioning Senator Wyden to introduce a bill that would create a 500,000, a half a million acres of wilderness area encompassing Crater Lake National Park and surrounding Forest Service lands in the Umpqua, Rogue River, and National Forests. I spoke with Klamath Falls, Kelly Morris. She's a county commissioner down there. She has it on the agenda for Tuesday to hear this same thing. Look, everybody needs to band together on this and kill this whole deal. We got a unanimous vote this morning. I was delighted to see that in our county commissioners here in Roseburg. Hopefully we'll have the same action in the other southern Oregon counties in their commissioner meetings. So anyway, you'll be hearing from Rob Reagan. He's the one that's bringing up this bill to, it's the opposition to this, it's the resolution to oppose Crater Lake wilderness designation. Anyway, this is a continuation of what we've seen already in the Swiftwater Park deal, where we had the backdoor deals going to try to snap up our land with water resources attached to them. This is just another continuation of that. We have to put our foot down and cancel this stuff. Anyway, check out these clips and share it with everybody.
What we have here is a proposal by Oregon Wild to add 1.5 million acres to the wilderness system in the state of Oregon. And I know you guys are familiar with this property, but this is Crater Lake in the center, which is a national park. It connects to the road, the Sky Lakes Wilderness Area itself. The proposed designations would go all the way up to the Diamond Peak Wilderness Area, which is out of Oak Ridge, and down into the North Umpqua and South Umpqua rivers adjacent to Boulder Creek Wilderness Area, which has burned twice now in the last 15 years, I'd like to point out, and the Rogue Umpqua Wilderness Area. These areas, most of them that are not designated as wilderness, are designated as roadless areas. They've gone through the review, Rare 1 and Rare 2. They were reviewed by Congress for inclusion within the wilderness system, and no representatives, either senators or representatives, proposed as wilderness. So they've already been through this process and got one. This will be the third time. The resolution I have in front of me has already been approved by organizations like from the Diamond Lake Homeowners Association and the Diamond Lake Improvement Company. In addition, the Road Snowmobilers, Mount Jefferson Snowmobile Club, the Grant County Snowballers, interesting name, the Old Farts Riding Club, OFRC, I'm not familiar with them, and the owners of Garrisonville Supply. The resolution has been available to the public for about the last 3 weeks. I have about 90 copies of signed resolutions here that I'll leave with you. But I will go ahead and read it if I may. And I know you have a long agenda, but I'll try to get through it quickly. Whereas Oregon Wild is petitioning Senator Wyden to introduce a bill to create a 500,000 acre wilderness area encompassing Crater Lake National Park and surrounding Forest Service lands in the Umpqua, Rogue River, and Deschutes National Forest, whereas much of the forest within the proposed area is categorized as high risk for catastrophic fire, whereas much of the area is a high-use recreational area centered around Diamond Lake and Crater Lake. For summer and winter activities, almost all centered around motorized uses, whereas much of the surrounding Forest Service land is eroded, provides recreational and hunting opportunities for citizens who may be physically challenged, whereas the Umpqua National Forest has identified 50,000 acres of dead and dying lodgepole pine in the middle of the proposed wilderness area, and has only been successful at treating less than 20% of that area because of legal challenges to the same environmental activists who are proposing this designation. Whereas both the Umpqua and Rokosinski National Forests have recently developed restorative vegetation management projects within much of the proposed wilderness areas that would be otherwise prohibited under the wilderness designation. Whereas the Crater Lake National Park has a lit burn policy, and this summer a lightning strike ignited a catastrophic fire that burned 20,000 acres in the northwest corner of the park, most of it during an uncontrolled run in mid-August. Whereas U.S. Forest Service campgrounds were closed for public safety, and owners of summer cabins along Diamond Lake were under an evacuation watch for several days and would have been forced to leave with a very short notice if the fire would have crossed the Medford Crater Lake Highway. Whereas the Forest Service would not have attempted to stop the fire on the ground, it would cross the highway because there were no safe evacuation routes for firefighters or public as the fire approached Diamond Lake Recreation Area. Whereas no fire protection exists for structural fires in the area, and all the recreational structures, including campground facilities, cabins, and lodges, would be at risk of destruction by fire. Whereas the Medford Grants Pass airshed, which has been impacted by smoke from recent wildfires and the smoke from a wildfire in the Diamond Lake Basin, will flow in the Medford Grants Pass airshed. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Douglas County Commissioners, support and continue to enjoy Crater Lake National Park, but strongly oppose Oregon Wild's proposal to designate a 500,000 Crater Lake wilderness area encompassing Crater Lake National Park and surrounding Forest Service lands in the Umpqua, Rogue River, and Deschutes National Forest. The Deschutes need to be added to this resolution, by the way. Correction, sorry about that. Be it resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to the Oregon Congressional Delegation. So that's our proposal, and we would encourage you folks to consider it and to adopt it. It's been presented to the Rosewood Chamber of Commerce. They have a policy of not signing resolutions, but they're going to send a letter of support opposing the Crater Lake National Park. It's also been presented to the Deschutes County Commissioners earlier this week, and it's going to be presented to Jackson, Josephine, and Klamath County's Commissioners also.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Yes.
Motion?
Yes.
So I would move for the resolution to oppose Crater Lake wilderness designation.
And I second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
I would also add in the Deschutes National Forest and the two places where it will be considered appropriate.
Further discussion?
So I would agree with that. And also, I'd like to address just a couple of the comments. First, I'd like to say thank you for all those that came and commented. I know oftentimes these processes seem lengthy and sometimes not the most comfortable. So thank you all for coming and commenting on this agenda item. There was some concern about the time for public input. So I've been doing public policy for a little better than 12 years now. And there's no topic that I've spent more time understanding, getting input on, and being involved in than this particular topic around managing natural resources. I am very comfortable today making a decision on this. The idea of continuing to lock up the public's land in these designations in these ways that make them really not good for the people of this state, this county, this country is ridiculous. And I'm very comfortable moving forward today.
Okay, so, all right, everybody, we're back with Tim Freeman. Commissioner Freeman, he's given us a little bit of time to discuss a resolution that was on the agenda this morning. This is the, I think is it, Tim? Help me out here.
So we passed a resolution this morning opposing the wilderness designation around the Crater Lake National Park.
Yeah, and they're trying to extend it quite extensively, right?
Yeah, so there's already a current national park designation around the park. This is an attempt by a group to expand it dramatically into covering many more acres outside of the national
Would
park.
they say 500,000?
I think it is a 500,000.
500,000 acres
yeah.
that they're trying to add on to this national park, if you would. And to me, it's the kind of like an EPA type outfit, and they're called Oregon Wild. Now, we'll go ahead and let Tim expound from that.
So I'm certainly not a supporter of the EPA, but I don't think I would even go so far as to drag the EPA down to the same level as Oregon Wild.
Is that right?
Oregon Wild is an organization that is dedicated really to stopping the management of natural resources here in Oregon. And they literally fight every sensible management technique and program that comes forward.
You know, while we're going and touching on that local area, Tim, you know, I told you about my little trip I ran around and I called it the loop. And all the logging I seen that was cut and left there, which wound up becoming the fuel for the fire that we had in South County last summer. I really have a big bitch about that. And I want you to talk about how could we have handled that differently, or what can we do? Can we utilize our sheriff to go into this area to get this this mismanaged forest into a cleaner shape? What can we do about that? Are you following me what I'm going
Yeah,
at?
so there is a belief that there is some other options. I know when I was in the legislature, I spent a huge amount of time and some financial resources looking for options other than sort of the normal track of trying to work through management plans with the Forest Service and BLM. And to date, I have not found what would be an easy or a doable path to any sort of other way of getting there other than working through the agency's management styles. I've spent quite a bit of time with a state representative colleague from Utah named Ken Ivory, and
Yeah, I know Ken.
had many discussions with him in meetings
I like
over the years when I was a state rep here in
Sure,
Oregon.
sure.
And really it comes down to the work that they're trying to do has a lot to do with states taking over management and ownership of lands.
Yeah, me and Chris actually talked
Yeah.
about, well, the state's one issue, but we could do even better by bringing it to the county.
So that is something I directly asked him and the other founders of the American Lands Council.
Yes.
If they believe there was a mechanism within federal law that would allow that, and they were very clear in telling me they didn't believe a county had the same authority as a state would in the work that they're doing. So
Well,
I
we're
was-
talking about, what I'm talking about is getting into that mismanaged forest and cleaning it up. Now, I got word, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Tim, but I got word that they made it illegal for anybody to come in and take any of that timber that's been cut, left laying there, which wound up being the kindling wood through that whole loop area. You know what I'm talking about. I went up and shot film on it. It's also in a film that Chris gave me about how clean and healthy forest is, and then one that is a
Yeah.
totally mismanaged forest. I'm saying that whole area, that whole loop, as far in the forest as you can see, is timber cut and left laying there, and it's a lot.
Yeah. So
So I'm talking about getting in there and cleaning that up. Can we do anything from the local levels?
So one thing on the Stouts Creek fire that we're continuing to work with the Forest Service and BLM was on what they're going to do as far as salvage goes after that fire. On the Forest Service side, they logged quite a bit of wood along roadways and have really big log decks ready to go. We are anxious to see what they put up for sale in timber sales and what they use for wildlife fish logs, and we're pushing very hard to get some transparency on that. I've actually sent a letter to them asking them for that information.
I'll be looking forward to you
Yeah.
keep me up to date on that, will you please?
Happy to.
Now, look, that's been a concern of mine. I was up there around Father's Day, and I'm like, I can't believe that I'm seeing this. This is what I was talking about, the criminal mismanagement. And I believe, I still stand by that, and I think we need to get together. Now, I don't know if we can force something from the county level, or can we get any aid from the state level. This is to me, it's and we didn't address the issue, why did they make it illegal for anybody to go in and touch anything? This is really crazy, especially since we've seen that was the kindling wood for that fire. That was a big fire. It looked like a volcano going off.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I was down there and was the commissioner liaison to the Stouts Creek fire and spent
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
heard
time
that, yeah.
down there. And clearly the way that land has been managed and mismanaged or
It's
lack
terrible.
of managed it is not healthy. It's not good for the forest. It's certainly not good for the citizens.
And that's a lot of money laying there.
And for the county and on the Forest Service portion of that, 25% of the value of that lumber of those lots
Belongs here.
belongs to the county. On the BLM ONC lands, 50% comes back to the county. So, very important part of our revenue
So
stream.
this is a good
Yeah.
motivating factor. This is
Yeah.
something to jump onto, I would say, huh?
Yeah, it is, and it's certainly something that the county, prior to me getting here, was very involved in. We were trying everything possible to ratchet it up to the
When
next
did
level.
they cut all that?
So the portion that was cut for the fire was cut.
No, no, no,
Oh.
I'm talking about on the roadways. I went up there as far in as you could see on both
Yeah.
sides of the roadways. It looked like about 2/3 of the trees were cut and just left laying there. It's a total mess.
Yeah, I'm
And
sorry,
that's a lot of-
I don't know the dates of when that happened.
Okay, all right, well, that's okay. Now, you know what, I thank you for your time. I think we're
Certainly.
good with that. So you explained, the whole thing with the Western River, I'm sorry.
Oregon Wild.
Oregon Wild. I'm gonna get into digging on
Yeah.
that. I got the clip from this morning, which is pretty cool. And I miss Gary Roth. Garrett Roth, he was expecting me, and I was out looking at real estate, so I'm gonna get him on Monday, but you know what, I'll come back and get an update, and, did you go and see any of the stuff that I already clipped out?
I have not had a chance.
Well,
yet.
I'll
I've
send you a
literally-
link, man. Give me your card.
I'll grab you a card on the way. I've
Okay.
been-
Hey,
I've been-
happy holidays, man.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Yeah, okay, we're good, man, thank you.